Hello, good morning, everyone. Yeah, it's 11 o'clock. It's still morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited for y'all to be here and join us today. My name is Nia Ferguson. I am currently the community school director at IS 303X, the Academy for Leadership and Community Service in the Boogie Down South Bronx. I'm so excited that we're here today to talk about the work that City Year staff and AmeriCorps members are doing in the schools. Talk a little bit about their work with students and all those kinds of things. So if anyone in the audience is watching today, if you have questions during the panel, please feel free to put those into the chat. At the end of the time, we'll make sure that we leave a little bit of wiggle room so we can answer those questions and make sure we address any other things that y'all have. So with that, I want to start. We're going to introduce our panelists. So first of all, we have Doshima Mgaram, who is a community school director at IS 584 in the Bronx. We have Ty Mcalmont over there with his gamer setup. I love it. I love it. He's an impact manager at PSIS 171 in East Harlem. And in addition to that, we have not one, but two AmeriCorps members joining us today. We have Natalie Wright, who is serving her core year at Fresh Creek School at East New York. And last, but definitely not least, we have Jillian Dawson, who is serving at Mosaic Prep in East Harlem. And I'm so excited to be speaking to all these wonderful people today. So let's just jump into it. We're going to start by everyone having a little bit to say about themselves and their role. We're going to go in the same order that I introduced them in. So we're going to start with Doshima. You can introduce yourself to the people.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. Can you all hear me okay? Perfect. All right. So as Naya said, my name is Doshima Mgaram. I'm the community school director at IS 584 in the South Bronx. Before being a community school director, I started City Year as an impact manager about 2.5 years ago, working with INMS in East Harlem. And as a community school director, I consider myself a jack of all trades. So I help to manage City Year and advise the team and the core. I'm also able to do large scale support at my school through attendance work, family engagement work, after school extended day programming, as well as just supporting the social and emotional wellness of our students, which has been one of our major concerns this year. As a CSC, I get to work on a cabinet with our assistant principal and principal, who I get to talk to regularly. And I'm able to advise the vision of our school with also some other administrators and social workers and counselors within the building. So the day-to-day work gets to be really exciting because I'm able to do so many things with so many groups of people.
We love to hear it. So next, in the same order, we are going to have Ty Mcalmont. If you can do the same yourself, your role.
Cool. Awesome. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Happy King Day. Again, my name is Ty Mcalmont. I am the impact manager at PS 171 in East Harlem. And as an impact manager, I work very closely with our core members, our partner teachers, and our school administration to, build up and maintain a lot of the city year systems that we have in our schools. So whether that's our small group tutoring or attendance or behavior coaching, I'm mostly the point person with that. And so far, it's been a great experience being able to learn so much from my core members and our partner teachers, just about like how the day-to-day works. Since I don't get to see a lot of it, I definitely love checking in with my core members. You hear about like the small wins that they have with their students, whether it's like getting a small assignment done that they couldn't before, or a student that may have been a little bit reserved but like opening up more to those core members. I love hearing it all, and being impact manager just allows me to just pull in lots of different stories and really help and coach the different people that I talk to make a greater impact.
Love this. Go ahead, Ty. You put in the impact manager. We love to see it. All right. So next we will have Natalie Wright talk about her role as a core member.
Hey y'all, my name is Natalie. I currently serve at the Fresh Creek School in East New York. I primarily serve in a 4th grade classroom, so that mainly looks like math and ELA support, but also a lot of mentorship building and social emotional support for our students. Additionally, we also help serve in the after school program, working with 3rd through 5th graders on different clubs and leadership to help build up both those academic skills as well as mentorship.
to round out our group, Jillian will say the same.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jillian. I use she, her pronouns, and I serve at Mosaic Preparatory Academy in East Harlem. I am currently serving in a 5th grade class, and in that class, I help run ELA support, which means like small group interventions, overall classroom support. And then I also do after school enrichment with 4th and 2nd grade, and that looks like a lot of clubs. We have some fun ones that I'm really excited to talk about, and I'm just really excited for this panel.
Awesome. Love this group. And already love them. Wonderful. So to kick things off, we're going to start with our core members. Natalie and then Jillian, if y'all would explain to us, why did you decide to join City Year?
Thanks. Joining City Year for me was a lot about my pursuit of education as well as learning. So I've always been really drawn to education as a field, working in different forms of teaching and learning, but I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to take that next step into as a career, or which facet of education I wanted to pursue more. I was looking into grad school programs, but I wasn't sure if that was a credential program or more nonprofit side. And so City Year to me seems like a really awesome in between of navigating what sector I specifically want to go into, as well as meeting all these really awesome skilled people within different niche aspects of education, meeting a lot of connections, which was super important to me. It also helps a lot financially in terms of navigating my grad school application. We have a lot of partnerships with grad schools and connections for that. There's scholarships for that. And so it kind of seems like the next step in building myself and my identity capital, but also with mentorship and support, as well as financial support in taking that next step.
Yeah, so both my parents are teachers, and I've just always been surrounded by education throughout my life. I always knew that I wanted to help people. I didn't really know what form that would take until about my junior year of undergraduate. And in that year, I just started realizing how passionate I was about education and specifically educational equity. Um, I noticed that even throughout like the college application process, there were a lot of imbalances between me and my peers. And so when I found City Year, it just seemed like a natural alignment with my values as well as my career goals. So joining City Year not only did it provide a great kind of break between undergraduate and graduate degrees, it also is giving me a lot of experience in schools and, making sure that education is something I enjoy. And I have found throughout the semester that we've been there that it is something I enjoy, and I'm definitely making the right career choice. So I really want to thank City Year for that.
Awesome. We love to hear it. Love to hear when something can not only help you feed others, but help feed you. It's a beautiful thing. So Doshima, if I am not mistaken, you are in your 3rd year working for City Year. You were first an impact manager, and then now you're a community school director. So my question is, what made you stay with City?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Naya. City Year has put me on some really amazing teams in my 3 years here, and I've been able to benefit from some really strong friendships. Some of my closest friends are people who I've met through City Year, and I've gotten to do the work to better the experience of schooling for Black and Brown children in the 2.5 years that I've been here. But I've gotten to do it alongside people who I know really care, who are really wanting to do the work, are excited about the work, are idealistic about the work, especially my core members. As an impact manager, that was definitely my favorite part. And this year, I've been given the opportunity to do work partly as an impact manager with my CSD role. And so in that, I'm able to just watch my team be able to learn and grow and experience different challenges and work together, and being able to advise a team of people and just learning about what all the service work means, learning about what social justice work means, understanding the depths of all of the intricacies of the education system, and being able to just see them participate in that, and still want to give it their all and everything that they do despite all of the hours. It's just really joyous and really exciting, and makes me want to come here day after day.
Love to hear that. Let's kick that over to Ty, because you are what I like to call a new veteran, right? You've been here now an impact manager, right? Coming from being an AmeriCorps member and a team leader. So what made you want to stay with City Year?
Great question. So I I think I mentioned this in my intro, but I did serve back in 2017 as a core member and then a TL, so for 2 years in the South Bronx. And then after my year as a team leader, oh yeah, BX is the best, awesome. After my year as a team leader, I decided to work with another amazing AmeriCorps program known as Reading Partners, just to learn how leadership and mentorship looks like through a different lens. Because one thing I was really interested in as a team leader was the AmeriCorps experience and thinking about like how can we improve that experience for our AmeriCorps members? What does coaching and providing guidance look like for them? So I worked with Reading Partners for about 1.5 years before coming back with essentially like a new set of eyes in terms of like, okay, like what can I do now, having seen like a different AmeriCorps experience and also having my experience from before? What can I use or what can I do now with those experiences to help coach my core members to be the best that they can be? So for me, I really wanted to continue with City Year to just properly guide core members and to give them opportunities that, that initially they may not see for themselves.
Great, love to hear it. Love to hear how City Year is not only helping people impact others, but doing for themselves and helping people want to, help the fellow people out on the core member level. Love to hear that. So this question is open to all four of you. I know it's every time you talk to someone, it's like we're going through a lot, but very specifically and acutely, what do you think some of the obstacles that what are some of the biggest obstacles, I would say, you feel that your students are facing this year with all of the everything going on?
I would like to go if no one else wants to go first, but I think because of the virus and everything, students really lost that in-person component to development. For a year and some change, and coming back into the new school year, there are just a lot of things related to being in person that kids lost out on. But I think like as a nonprofit, educational nonprofit, and our goal is to coach kids, really figuring out like what can we do to incorporate ourselves to better coach our students, essentially, or rather, essentially considering that they've lost so much time of like being in person, they've lost like pretty intimate relationships with like other classmates, their teachers, and other adults in the building. Um, like, what can we do to like provide that service, but like tenfold? So for me, like my focus when I became an impact manager was like relationship building. I think it's really important for our young scholars to build relationships with other classmates, their teachers, and other adults in the building. So, kind of like something that we lost out on, but something that we're working towards is like providing proper coaching for our kids to make sure that they regain that lost component of relationship building.
I just want to echo what Ty said about the difficulties in transitioning from a virtual environment to an in person classroom. The last time my fifth graders were in school, they were in third grade, and there's just a huge developmental gap between third grade and fifth grade that I feel a lot of my students maybe missed out on. And it's been wonderful to see the growth that they've made just throughout the time that we've had. But definitely, that is a huge challenge that my students have been facing, as well as just, growing up in a community that is a little under resourced compared to others. They don't always have the same access. and just seeing how we can be there to provide for that gap in resources. It has been a wonderful experience, and I'm just so proud of my students for the progress they've made throughout the year.
Yeah, echoing
Something
Ty
else for
and
that?
Jillian.
Oh, go ahead.
Thanks, Natalie. Echoing Ty and Jillian, our students haven't had a normal school year in 3 years. And because of that, a huge focus for my school was around the social and emotional wellness pieces of helping students to be able to navigate conflicts, of helping students to be able to say, maybe I need some space, right? Of helping students to be able to reintegrate into the classroom, understanding that they may not be able to have the comfort of being at home anymore, and helping them navigate what that looks like, helping them navigate having healthy relationships. Many of our students are lacking a lot of those skills. And for that reason, my principal and assistant principal helped change our model to be able to have our AmeriCorps members be with cohorts throughout the day instead of have a partner teacher. And so our AmeriCorps members have been doing a great job of being able to build relationships with their students because they're with the same kids from 7 a.m. until 3:30 p.m. And they also have been doing specific groups within our after-school programming through restorative circles, through gender-based programming to help our kids to be able to have the skills that they need, because at least for us, that's been probably the biggest obstacle we've had throughout the year.
Similar to what kind of everyone's been saying with COVID changing the way in which school runs, I think a huge loss is trust in terms of dependency on like structure and routine within a school. So, I mean, even with the second round with Omicron, teachers are out, students can no longer predict routines or structure. And so a lot of it is trust building on our end to show that we're going to show up and care about them every day, even if teachers aren't there at times, or even if school's virtual for a week or packets have to be taken home. And so a huge obstacle I think this year has been trying to build that trust in a time when being dependable is a challenging thing to do. Just in general, showing up when you're not sure the state of people's health is really challenging. And so we've been really emphasizing at my school is trying to build not even just one-on-one relationships with the students, but having kids build relationships with each other so that are changing or leaving, or classrooms have to adjust and be flexible. They trust that everyone in the school has their back and are there to support them.
This is why I love City Year. Challenges, and everybody has solutions tucked into talking about challenges, right? That's beautiful. Everybody's ready to start. So let's flip that on its head, right? We're talking about the things that their kids are struggling with. Let's talk about some of the joys and successes that you've seen with your students. And let's start with Jillian, because I want to hear kind of what the front line is saying first.
Yeah, I think one of my greatest joys has been working in the after school space. It's definitely still structured, but it's a little bit more on enrichment activities than a regular school day. So one of the things that we've been running in after school is a culture club where students try to learn more about other cultures and just try to become global citizens. And literally 2 weeks ago, we started a lesson on Latin American culture. And as part of it, we ran like a dance club. We taught students a little salsa, bachata, and merengue. And just watching our students like try to dance a little, though some of them got really into it. And it was like not only adorable because I do run for 4th and 2nd grade, so they're kind of little. But it was just really fun to see them engaging in the activity, learning about things that they might not know about before, and just overall having a good time. So I've really loved that after school space. And it has been stressful at times, but definitely one of my more joyful experiences.
I can go off of that. When I was first heard this question, immediately one of my students came to mind. He's one of the students who was a little bit behind in terms of math in the beginning of the year, struggled with addition and subtraction and counting on. And when we did an activity early on in the year, we had to talk about like our biggest fears and what solitude meant to us. He wrote about how he was terrified of ever sharing his work with the class because he was going to be laughed at. And this was maybe November. January, coming back to school, he was called at random in our class dojo, which is a point system, to come up to the board to do a long division problem. And he was really hesitant. In the past, would put his head down, pretend he didn't hear, and he went up this time. I don't know exactly why, maybe with the support, but he did it, and he got the answer right. And the coolest part about all of it was that when he was heading back to his seat, all the class started clapping for him and started cheering him on. And he just had the biggest smile ever. It was so sweet. And he looked at me and he said, "I did good, Miss Natalie, right?" And it was just a really, really sweet moment. It's stuff like that, no matter how big or how small, when the students are proud of themselves and you can really see that growth, that just makes this whole service work completely worth it.
All right, cool. If anybody is not going to share anymore, I just want to direct this next question for Doshima. As a fellow CSD, I know that the big part of our job is creating, maintaining, building relationships with different stakeholders, teachers, students, families, in City Year and stuff like that. So, how were you able to navigate all of that while shifting in between in person to virtual to back in person and all that kind of stuff? How was that for you?
It's definitely been difficult. I'm sure you can echo this, Naya, as well, but it's definitely been difficult. For me, I'm someone who is a natural introvert. And so going back and forth between the virtual, the in-person, et cetera, was already extra hard. But something that I always have fallen back on is making sure that my relationships are intentional with people, that they're meaningful, that I'm remembering things, writing things down. And so with my students and with my teachers, this year specifically has been one of a lot of intention. As we talked a lot about the emotional pieces so far, it's just been being there has been really important. I feel like at least for my first 4.5 months, as a community school director, what I try to do is just be hyper present. So I made sure, that I'm doing all the whole school supports that I can do, so that people can see my face, so they understand my role, what I'm there for, making sure that I'm popping in on teachers, making sure that I'm scheduling check-ins, making sure that my kids know that the door to the City Year office is literally always open, and that they can come in if they need to. And so that has really helped. In a virtual space, it's harder, but something that, having the ability to at least pop in on classes and be in after school virtual programming was really useful. Just again, for the purpose of being able to say hi, hello, and let people know what they can contact me for. Reaching families has definitely been the hardest. For middle school specifically, reaching families is already difficult because families are a little more detached in middle school, as they should be, because their kids are getting older and more responsible for their work and their relationships. But with our communities, we know that many of our families are juggling multiple jobs. A lot of the families at my school are juggling housing instability, multiple kids with multiple different schools and needs. And so all of that is much harder given COVID as well. But something that my team does is weekly positive phone calls home to families, to just let the families know how their students are doing, something that brought them joy that week, something that they're excelling in. And that has really helped as far as the families understanding that City Year is there, and understanding that, we can always be of some level of support to them. And if not, redirect them to the people who can support them in their struggles.
Awesome. Authenticity and intention, making sure that you're connecting on things that are not just like, your kid didn't come today. Love that. Got to make sure you're putting those positive things in there. So this next one is for Ty. You served 2 years with City Year. You worked somewhere else. and then you return back here. So the question is, why the boomerang effect? You know, what is it about City Year that made you want to come back?
The really special thing about City Year and the capacity that core members have is their ability to create really like intimate, close relationships with their students. As a specific example, and not to put this core member on blast, but I have a fourth grade core member, and their pronouns are they, them. And in their classroom, they have a student who's been like exploring their own identity. So this core member took it upon themselves to, have conversations with this student, to encourage that student to explore their identity and to be proud of who they are. And when my core member came up to me and they told me one day, like, hey, like my student, is starting to feel more comfortable using their new pronouns in class. And, they also call out their fellow classmates when they use the wrong pronoun. And, wins like that are so amazing because imagine if that core member wasn't in that classroom. Like would that student ever get the support they would need to feel proud of their own identity? So for me, the relationships core members are able to build, that was like the key reason why I wanted to come back to like guide our core members and make them feel confident in coaching their kids. So yeah. Also shout outs to that core member. I'm very proud of them.
Awesome. I love it. And so Jillian said in the chat, the representation is so important. It's true because it's a turnkey to advocacy for all of us. So that's always awesome. This one I'm going to open up to everybody. We've had the emergence of the Omicron variant in the past month. COVID infections are spiking crazy bigger than they had been in March 2020, and then that's caused a lot of shifting, especially with schools and things like that. So how is our service in schools, and how have the schools themselves adjusted to kind of this whirlwind of change that's been going on? And I'm going to start with Doshima again.
Thanks, Naya. Yeah, we're all just hoping for the best. I think that the way that we've adjusted is just with increased positivity. As you already mentioned, the cases are spiking. I think a couple of weeks ago, it was like 47% positivity rate in the South Bronx. And last year, this time we were closed because it was over 3%. And so knowing that we are at a point where it's just kind of a matter of time before everybody is exposed, everyone gets it. That's been really tough to talk to students about because the students, they talk about it all the time. There used to be a level of discretion around who had COVID, but now kids are talking about it in group chats and they know whose families has it. And so it's kind of just like commonplace at this point. And so what we're trying to do essentially is just be lenient, being lenient with families who are refusing to send their students to school because they're concerned, being lenient with students who are nervous about the lack of safety that they feel, being lenient with ACMs and staff who aren't able to come in because they're sick. It's just been a lot. And I think that the best thing that we've been able to do as far as adjusting our service is just being there and showing up, despite our individual fears as well.
I would just like to echo like the fears that a lot of us have regarding COVID-19, just because we are seeing so many students every day, and even in the best of times, schools are huge places that do spread sickness just because there's so many people in one building. I've noticed that my school personally has really ramped up testing of students, which has been nice, as well as an increased number of students have brought in permission slips to be tested at school. So it's nice to see that family involvement in the student safety, as well as we've been getting, since the semester has started, we've been getting at-home test kits from the school so that we can test ourselves, just to ensure that everyone is safe. But it has definitely been, a fear because you never know like what degree of illness you're going to get if you catch COVID. You can always do your best to protect the community, wear your mask, get vaccinated, but ultimately it's a little bit scary. And I think the best way to move forward is just with positivity. Um, just letting students know like school is a safe place despite what they might have heard, and just keeping students engaged in classwork and wearing their masks, and just overall try and keep it a positive space for students despite any fears they might have, because school is very important for them. And yeah, just it's been a challenge, but one that we can definitely overcome.
I think being oh, sorry. Yeah. I think being flexible and accommodating in our approach to service is very important this year. Um, from supporting our families, making sure that they feel heard when it comes to them raising concerns about Omicron or the virus, and just providing whatever resources we can. It's so crucial during this time. Our school has really done a great job at providing like testing sites for our kids and our staff, as well as providing like at home kits so that our kids and our parents can get tested often, which is amazing and it's great. And I think it gives everyone in the school building like peace of mind almost, knowing that, okay, I feel supported by, our administration. So, I'm just going to do my best to, communicate with them when issues come up, or just showing like appreciation. My team and I did calls to most of our families the other day, and some of our parents were like really happy to hear from us. Like, oh, thank you so much for calling. Like, we appreciate you all checking in on us, and I think providing that space where families can feel heard is very important right now.
That's awesome. I love to hear it. Love to hear that. That's one of my favorite things I think about City Year is that it's been so mercurial, so flexible to be able to adjust to the things that are going on and not kind of stiff-necked when it comes to making sure that we are doing what needs to be done for our students. So let's take it back up to a higher note. I want to know what are you all most proud of in your service this year? We've been talking a lot about the things that are taking us down, a lot of the challenges, but what's been a source of pride, a spark for you while you've been going through this year so far? My bad. Better go ahead.
I'm so sorry, my Wi-Fi bumped me off the call, but I'm back on my phone. Can you guys hear me okay? Great. So a source of joy this year. For me, something that gets me into school every day, which is kind of a very small joy in the grand picture of what we do, but there is one kindergarten student at my school who I absolutely adore. And every single morning as he walks through, he has like 500 layers on and like 3 hats. And he gets there and he kind of just looks at me like ready to like unzip him all the way and to head upstairs. And it's something so small, but every single morning when I wake up and my alarm goes off and it's hard because you're working long hours, it's like, well, he's going to miss me if I'm not there. I have to show up. And so it's like little relationships like that that I think makes this job so joyful and joyous, and all the little personalities of everyone that we're working with.
Something that we're proud of is the prompt. Okay. I think like for me, like the plain and simple answer, like are my core members. Like they show up every day. They do the best that they can to provide the best service for their kids and their partner teachers. And even when faced with challenges, they've been our word this month was flexible, but like flexible in their approach to really make change happen, or make it positive difference in our lives or in the lives of children. And whenever they come to me with like a small win, I always tell them like, take that small win and take it to the bank, because, you know, you can't really get big wins without the small ones. All the small ones like come together to make the big wins. So I'm always proud of my core members for showing up each and every day.
Something that I'm incredibly proud of is the relationship I've built with my teammates. Obviously, this work is about the students, but your teammates are a huge, plus in your day. Like, I'm always excited to see them. We work really well together, and because we all work well together, we're able to provide better service to our students. There's not infighting on my team that would like disrupt the flow of student activity, and I'm just incredibly joyful to see them every day. And we've gotten so close, and I'm going to be really sad when we're no longer teammates. So I'm just really proud of the relationships that I've built, not only with students, but with my team, because that's relationships I could have for the rest of my life. Whereas our service in the school is only a year. I wish it could be more, but so I'm just very proud of the relationships that I've built.
Ditto everything that everyone said around teammates and AmeriCorps members. I think that my AmeriCorps members are rock stars, and we would not be able to do this work without them at all. I so value each and every one of them. And also just want to shout out my kids too. I mean, I got into it with a sixth grader, little heated discussion about her mask recently because she did not want to wear it during lunch. And we've been trying to get them to take bites of food and then put their mask back on and eat their food. And then once they're finished chewing, they can take, and she said, Miss M, you didn't have to do this as a kid. This wasn't your childhood. And the way that she was able to express herself and like the annoyances, even the little annoyances regarding COVID. But she still, wears the mask. She still comes to school in distances. She still does everything that she needs to do to try to be safe. And that's the experience of many of our kids, that they're just trying their best to be able to make normal out of an abnormal situation. And I'm just so proud of them.
Awesome. I love hearing about wins, because Ty's absolutely right. Those little wins step you up to big wins, and you got to celebrate the little ones so that you can really feel those big ones. So love that we're getting a chance to really talk about those here. We got a few minutes left, so I'm going to jump into some of the questions that we have from the audience. And here's one that I think is really good, because I think it piggybacks on what Doshima was talking about, healthy self-expression and clear communication and advocating for that with our students and stuff like that. And it was, mental awareness, mental health, mental hygiene is all very, very important, especially for City when we're talking about our students. So how do you identify, struggling students who may be reserved, who are dealing with shame, who are dealing with, issues like, I think it was Natalie was talking about one of the students who didn't want to come up to the board, right? So that's a source of shame, but when it comes to mental health, that's another stigma, because it's not just I got it wrong, it's I got it wrong socially, right? Which is a really big thing when you're in school trying to learn to be social. So how do you kind of identify, work with those students who may not be able to communicate as clearly about what's going on with them?
I can start on that one. I think that one of the biggest things is giving them tools to communicate how they're feeling and the thoughts that are going on. I think it's really isolating when you are dealing with mental health issues and you're not even sure yourself what they are or how to express them or how to deal with them. And so, of course, listening and supporting is really important, but sometimes you can't listen if the student doesn't know how to communicate or understand how they're feeling to begin with. And so, helping them break down with vocabulary to express how they're doing, sentence starters to break down how they're doing. There's a girl in my class who will have kind of tantrums at times in the classroom, and a lot of it comes, I think, out of rage of not sure what's going on just with herself. And so one of the two phrases that we go has turned around just the tantrums themselves like drastically over the course of the year. is one, how do I feel and what can I control? So dealing on like what she's feeling right now and what she can control to make the situation feel better. And she just asking her these questions rather than saying anything allows her to have the space to reflect on what's going on and what she can do herself to make herself feel better. And whether that's getting a stuffed animal to feel support while she's doing work, or going out in the hall with a teacher or a core member and taking a walk to kind of have a moment of solitude before re-entering, has been really helpful skill sets for her in processing that.
My school, Mosaic Prep, focuses around the concept of bucket filling. If anyone has heard of that term, it's essentially being kind to your peers. And we actually have a plaque that's like New York's first bucket filling school. And it's something our principal implemented that has been pretty successful. We go over social media every day. We have a mood meter where students can say how they're feeling, and mostly we just encourage students to be true to their emotions and know that their feelings are valid. If they get frustrated, like, it's okay to get frustrated. If they make a mistake, it's okay to make a mistake. And just really reinforcing the idea that humans are just complicated emotional beings, and none of that is wrong, and they shouldn't have to feel a certain way about something they are told to by the school system. Or like, if they're frustrated with school, that's okay. Like, that's why we have City Year members in classrooms to support. Like, that's why teachers are there to help them learn. And my school has just been very good about supporting the emotional lives of students in addition to their academic lives.
That's awesome. I love this. I love the idea of staying present with it. I'm gonna do one more question and then we'll wrap up. Because I actually really like this question. It's about this asks, are you advocating group sessions in schools for kids who are having trouble socializing? And I kind of want to widen that to how are you addressing social situations in the school? We talk a lot about academics and what kids are losing in terms of classroom, but I think for me, it's always been we lost touch. Literally, we lost touch with each other. And I think that that's something that's very fundamental. So how are we kind of scaffolding those experiences so that even though our students may lack in certain places, that they can still kind of feel part of a community?
Our social workers and counselors in the school are a huge part of our school environment and community. My school is very invested in just making sure that we have a lot of restorative practices infused in all of what we do. We have a weekly SEL class, social emotional learning class, for all of our students that they're participating in. But we also just, the way that we're trying to handle conflicts this year is a lot about conversation, because many of our conflicts, we actually just did a data review of the conflicts that we had to report and submit through the DOE reporting site. And the majority of our conflicts started off with rude and unkind behavior. And that was how we coded it. And so that led to then fighting between students or physical altercations, right? But it all stemmed from that. So a lot of what we're doing is trying to have those small group sessions, small group conversations that are led by counselors or social workers, even myself for the City Year team. And through our after school programming, 2 days a week, we have extended day, which is just about 1 hour that mostly City Year is leading. And a lot of our City Year core members are having small group conversations with our students about emotional and social awareness and friendships and all those things in those spaces. So that we can begin to start anew, because that loss of touch and loss of community was probably something that we noticed early on. That was one of the biggest issues with how we were then able to deal with the avalanche of other things that came after that.
Something we do after school program, City Year in general has leadership curriculum for the grade and after school programs, but at our school, for those who are not familiar, it's by grade, working on leadership within our students, focusing on topics such as kindness, respect, etc. And which I lead with my fellow AmeriCorps members. We did an activity the very first day to kind of set the tone of this being a safe space, different from the classroom or from home or from anywhere else, where there should be kind of trust and open communication, where we did a step in, step out circle. And I wasn't sure exactly how it was going to go over, but the kids were dead silent the entire time, took it incredibly seriously, had really insightful reflection questions after, said that they felt calm and safe after. And so now every week we do a step in, step out circle, focusing on different topics to help students express tough things from their personal lives or at school, as well as funner, lighthearted conversations to see common similarities between students that they might not expect. And I think all of these kind of self-reflection questions and spaces are really important in terms of creating and rebuilding that trust and community for students.
I love it. I especially love it. Feels like everybody not trying to like take what was old and shove it into a new context, but really, you know, like Doshima said, we're starting again, like we're rebuilding it. We're figuring out where they are and trying to build what we can from there. And it all feels very student led, which is super important. But unfortunately, despite how wonderful this all has been, questions, comments, responses, all of these things, we are out of time. We're actually over time. But I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Big, special, wonderful thank you to Doshima, to Ty, to Natalie, to Jillian for joining us on this panel. You know, that you thought it not robbery to join us today and to be able to talk about the service that you do and share it with everyone. Thank everyone who asked questions. Thank everyone who has been listening. And just so you know, next at 12 o'clock, if you signed up for and received the painting kit, we'll be moving into those workshops for paint sessions, which will be led by some of our City Year New York AmeriCorps members. In order to access the workshops, make sure that you click on the workshops tab in the main menu, choose a session to join from there, all right? We really hope that you enjoyed this session today. Please have a great day, go forth and serve. And remember, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Y'all have a great one. Enjoy your day.
Thanks, Naya. Thanks, everyone.